life. Careful. Don't say anything anymore.
That's right. Hey, what is up, everybody? We are live, and let me see. We're going to try the pointing thing. We are live with my friend Will.
Oh, I pointed
and Dawn. Good to see you. See, this is easy, but I'm always pointing the wrong way. This is great. Glad you guys are here with us. We're going to spend the next couple of minutes giving you a chance to join us online. So while you guys are joining us, as you get into the chat, why don't you do as we always do, drop your name in the chat, let us know where you're watching from, tell us what your weather's like, because it's always kind of fun to find out what's going on around the country. Will said a couple of minutes ago, he said it's kind of cold right now. I want to hear what Sacramento cold is.
All right, let's see. It's raining now.
I think Dawn's going to smash you, I think, is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I probably will.
It is 47 degrees and rainy.
Oh, okay. It's colder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I'm at 41, so not too much cooler, but we are sunny, so feels good.
Nice. And I don't want to assume everybody knows where you are. Dawn, where are you located?
I am near Boise, Idaho.
Okay, great. Boise, Idaho. I'm capping out here at 67 degrees and sunny here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it's
not fair.
It's nice. In fact, as soon as this is over, I'm going to go open my big garage door and spend the rest of the day with the door open. It's going to be fantastic. Hey, good morning, Cynthia. We see Cynthia's with us. Cynthia, let us know where you're watching from and what your weather's like. That'd be cool. Great. Well, here, in just a minute, I think Will's got some just fun questions we're going to warm up with. That these are just unrehearsed, silly questions just to get to know a little bit about Dawn. Hopefully this won't change whether you want to come to the conference or not after this. And
I'm kind of worried since they're coming from Will. We'll see here.
Oh, no. These were come up with Mark and myself. These weren't just mine. If they were just mine,
okay. Makes
I
me
would
feel
be
a little
100%. I'll add a couple of my own that I
was involved. Yes, right. Okay.
Wow, 64 and sunny in North Arkansas, so not too far from you, Mark. So
no, not too far.
Weather.
Nope.
Ohio, 46 and sunny. So I guess I'm the only one with rain in California so far.
That's right. We'll take it away, Will, and I will just.
Yeah,
I'll deny any involvement in these questions if I need to.
Okay.
Yes. None of these are that bad. No, it's pretty good. So, favorite pizza topping?
Mushrooms.
Okay. All right. Breakfast or dinner?
Oh, dinner. Absolutely. I'm not a breakfast food person. Yeah.
I don't eat breakfast, but I love breakfast food.
My husband's the same way in the fact that he will eat breakfast every single meal of every single day if he can. I will force myself to eat eggs because, protein and it's super simple and quick, but it's not my favorite. So I am like, I could eat burgers or whatever, like every meal. Like I love, dinner. Absolutely.
Oh, I agree with your husband. I think it has something to do with the calves. It must be. Breakfast food and calves they're tied. They're intertwined.
That's probably why. Yep, you both got nice.
Wait, we have that connection.
Then what's my excuse? Because I eat breakfast every day and I got no calves, so I don't know.
Mark is probably wondering, like, what are they talking about? Because I don't think Mark was there during the holiday.
You shared more pictures than I needed to see. So yes, I have.
Yes.
I still have a few of those.
I know they're like a screenshot on my actual phone.
That's great.
Morning or evening person?
Oh, I'm like both. I like to stay up late and get up early. If I had to choose one, I would say I would love to get up early consistently. I used to, but now since we moved to like the mountains, I don't know. It's like the mountain air. I tend to sleep in. I mean, sleep in for as much as I can with 7 kids, But yeah, I would say both. I really do like my evening time, and I like to get up early. So I figured.
All right. Guilty pleasure TV show.
Oh. I don't think she's much of a TV person, but
I don't really. Yeah, there's not really a guilty pleasure. If I sit down and like to watch something, I really like this show, Salvage Dogs. That's not a guilty pleasure, but I love the show Salvage Dogs and White Collar. That was like my
nice, yes,
thing. So yeah,
great.
which
That's
I've
great.
watched them all, so it's not really fun anymore. But those were the two that I really, really liked.
All right, here. This is one of my questions, and I have to ask everyone: is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes, because it's surrounded by bread.
Bread.
That's what I say. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so a taco is not a sandwich, though.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
I think sandwich and like bread, you know?
there we
Yep.
go. Perfect. That's the right answer. I didn't have to boot you. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Yeah, your very first car.
Oh, it was a Pontiac Grand Am. I think an 89 Pontiac Grand Am. Yeah, shift, like shift stick. Yep, absolutely manual. Nathan was pretty impressed because I met him, my husband, while I had that car, and I could hold his hand and shift at the same time.
Nice.
Yes.
I do have to, since we're on that, I'll say real quick. My first car was a 79 Honda Accord 2-door hatchback. Okay. Kind of tan color. And it was so small and I'm so tall that I could, a couple things. I could turn the radio on and off with my right knee without moving at all. Just my
funny.
knee. It was fantastic. And I had to straighten my right leg to get it under the steering wheel so I could sit in. It was really fantastic. It was also
like one of those little, like, I'm picturing like a go-kart, you know, like you're sitting and like your knees are up and you're, yeah.
In fact, I've got a picture of myself in a go-kart that has a canvas top on it, and the whole top of the go-kart is like crested up with my head. So I got to post that later. That'll be great.
Oh, you need to post that video of the
me
the
crashing.
little go-kart. Yeah, crashing the go-kart.
Wait, do I post a picture of the finger also that I crushed? No, that's
100%. 100%.
All right, back to you real quick, and then we'll get into the rest of this interview.
Yeah, all right. Well, last one. What is, when you're in a groove and you're working and you're focused, what is on that playlist?
All of the things. All of the things. I love I love it all. I go from like country to R&B to worship to whatever. Like, it's just, I have the whole mix. I don't stick with like one genre. I get bored. So yeah, it's all the things. Yep.
Well, I know right when we first got on, before you got here, I was listening to Connor Price a few minutes ago. So if anybody knows who he is, so it's probably not what anybody would guess from me. But if you don't know, you don't know. That's okay.
I like upbeat though. I will say, like, yeah, especially when I'm in my groove, I like to dance. I like to just like kind of let loose, not in front of people usually, but that, like, anything with like a beat. Yeah, I love it.
I know Will is just 90s R&B, right?
90s R&B and power ballads. I will be rocking to some Celine Dion. I have no problem with that. I don't. Yeah, people think it's slow and it's melancholy, but I'm sitting here, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Boys to Men, all night while I'm packing boxes.
Nice.
People will walk in here and depending on what time of the day, it'll be worship music or it'll be like crazy screamo metal, just all over the place. And it's all true. It's all me. Just depends on the time of the day. So that's awesome.
I'm going to jump over here and see who else has joined us. So Valerie is here from Ohio, Bob's World in Syracuse, New York, 39 and sunny. Lori from East Texas. Michelle's here from New Hampshire. Cheyenne's here from Arkansas. Trisha's here from Louisiana. Some of them don't have where they're from. I just know where they're from. So it's kind of cool.
Right.
Pat's here from, I believe he's in Michigan, just because he's a Lions fan. So cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us early morning on.
Oh, Canada just
Friday.
Jumped in. That's great. That's awesome. Well, so let's just kind of start out with this now that everybody's here. We are interviewing our friend Dawn Marie, and she is going to be telling us a little bit about herself here in just a moment. But she is one of the honored speakers that we have coming to our conference this summer. And hopefully all of you guys know about it by now. But if you don't, it's the Next Level Laser Conference, and you can get your tickets right here at nextlevellaserconference.com. Will is sporting a shirt. I don't have one yet, but I'll have one soon. But we would love to have you guys join us. So if you have any questions about the conference, let us know. But Dawn's going to be teaching And she's going to be there throughout the whole thing. So you'll be able to talk with her before and after her presentation. So it's going to be great to have her there. And so for just a few minutes, we're going to have her talk in just a moment about the topic she's going to be teaching on. But first of all, we don't want to assume that everybody knows who she is. So Dawn, why don't you give everybody just a snapshot of who you are and what kinds of things you do?
Sure. So like Mark said, my name is Dawn Marie. So my story is kind of way back in 2016. I wanted to do something creative and started ripping apart some pallets my husband brought home from work. And I decided to make some signs. That was before I knew anything about any lasers, any vinyl cutters, nothing. So I was doing them all with a pen, like a Marquee or like a Sharpie marker or like a paint pen. And I figured out how to make a sign like that, which was crazy because now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I started that way. But, we all start somewhere, right? So I got into sign making. Then I figured out what a vinyl cutter was. I got into stencils. And then I started doing custom signs. And I kind of figured in the same amount of time that I could do a custom, I could maybe hold a class where I could teach 10, 20 people how to make their own sign and therefore, increase my profit that much. And so I looked into holding classes. I could not find any information. This was back before I knew anybody that was doing it, but figured it out. And kind of fast forward, the first year of my parties was 2017. I did 200 parties. By the end of the year, I had 6 people working for me. My dad was cutting my boards like full time. I was so thankful for him. And yeah, and that it just grew locally. So then a few years passed, I decided to take my knowledge of my parties and brought it online. And so since January of 2020, I have been teaching people how to do what I did with parties. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I started in central Minnesota, and now my husband and I and our family live out near Boise. We have 7 kids, and I do this full time. And yeah, that's kind of who I am.
So we're going to share this a lot, but where do they find more information about you? I'll put it on the screen here.
Yeah, so my website is my name, DawnMarieLeggett.com. It has information of what I do and where else you can find me. My Facebook group is Sign Parties 101. Also my Instagram, you can follow me over there, get more info if you want.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So without spilling all the beans and telling everybody about everything you're doing, what kinds of things are we going to learn from you at the conference? What can we kind of expect there?
So what I like to share is that, I've always been hesitant. Like I started calling myself Sign Parties 101, right? I call them parties because that sounds fun to me. But a lot of people sometimes have the connotation of parties as in like a Tupperware party or a Pampered Chef party or whatever, which, there's nothing wrong with those, but that's not what this is. It's more of a class or a workshop. It's where you get together with some people and you teach them how to do a project. And the other thing I say is like, I say signs because signs were my jam, but this can be applied to literally any project that you want to create. Maybe you make birdhouses, or maybe you make, you knit, or you make jewelry, or whatever it is that you do. If you have a passion to create that thing, you can turn it into a class or a workshop and have that be an income stream as well. So that's kind of in a nutshell. It doesn't have to be signs and it doesn't have to be called a party, but the concept is the same. And so what I like to do is teach people how to get those started. Where are some great places to market to advertise to, how you get outside of your like little bubble. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't think I could ever do that because I don't have very many friends, or my family's super small, or, they still have that connotation of like, oh, I don't want to bother my family and friends. And with this, you don't have to. Like, I teach you how to get outside of your own network and, places and people and businesses and things like that to contact and to network with and collaborate with and all that sort of stuff. So I really enjoy like knocking down all these barriers that people think they have. and tell them like, actually, no, you can do it this way. And so then that's not even an obstacle. Like for me, I have a super small family, and I had like 2 friends and, you know, like close friends, and I didn't ask any of them to do a party when I started, because I got outside of my own network. And so you don't have to bother your family or friends, and you don't have to, you know, do it in a way that doesn't feel right to you. And so that's what I really like to do is people say, oh, I can't do it because XYZ. And I like to say, actually, you could, because you can do it this way, or did you think about this? And just getting people outside of their comfort zone, and trying something that they maybe didn't think about or didn't know was possible before.
Yeah. So, you know, for someone who's just starting out, what would you say are some of the biggest obstacles that they encounter, or the biggest questions you get from people saying, I'm new, how do we even get started with this?
So a couple of the biggest questions I hear, and this honestly can be with any like any niche, is they're afraid of failure, which, you know, I always say, like, if you think of not succeeding at something that you try as a learning experience to what you can adjust and try again, like, you won't ever fail, you know, it won't be a failure. And so that's number one. So like just shifting your mindset for that. A lot of people say, well, I don't have any time. And so a lot of things I like to do is teaching on, you know, time management, and just, you know, how do you create pockets of time when you're busy? Maybe you have a full-time job and you want to start this in the evenings or on weekends. Like, how do you get that going? Or, you know, you're like me and you have a bajillion kids at home. Like, how do you fit in like those pockets of time and stuff? So there are ways to go around that. There are ways to adjust your time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And so, you know, what are some habits that you can get into that help, you know, help push you towards those goals? But really, when it comes down to the actual, you know, party process, I always say, quit overcomplicating it. So many people, you know, you guys know there's a million things you can make, especially like in the laser world, right? There's like shiny objects all over. And so many of us are like, we just get frozen because they're like, you know, Mark, you have a million files that are amazing. And every time I see one, I was like, oh my gosh, that would be an awesome party. Like your banks, like that would be such a fun party to do. And then you come out with another one and another and another. And it's like, oh, where do you start? I always just say, pick one thing or two or whatever, but just pick something that you love to make, that you have made, and that you're like, this is so much fun. I use this all the time. I'm waiting to make your, I need to make it. I reminded myself yesterday, your earring holder, that little thing that you shared, that would be so amazing to make that, and then make a little pair of earrings or something at a class. But find something that you love to make, whatever it is, and then put it out there that you're going to.
You actually said exactly the question I was going to ask, which is perfect. Because I bet that when, especially like you said, when people think of sign parties, their brain is very narrow in thinking. Yeah. And I was going to ask you, just off the top of your head, what are some really different things you've seen people do from this to this? Like, you know, kind of just give some variety of things you've seen people do in parties that maybe isn't the traditional like round sign that says welcome, you know? Right.
Oh gosh. I mean, there's so many. There's like, if you like those knitting, you know, like there's those big like chunky knit blankets that you can do, or centerpiece boxes, or bottle openers, or you know, Palmer clay jewelry, or I mean, it's literally anything that you love to make. You can figure out like a, what's it called, like a mosaic glass, you know, the mosaic tiles, anything that you love to make. And it really doesn't matter if you're like male, female, whatever, you know, something might be more girly as far as like the knitting or something, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Macrame, there's people that do macrame. workshops, or, I mean, that's what's so cool, is because your parties or your classes can be so much different than, Will's classes or my classes or whatever. Like, just because someone is in your area doing, parties too, who cares? You guys can do so much, different things. I specialized, in signs, but mine were even more like niche down to plank signs. That's like my jam. I have 7 million pictures in my phone about just these plank signs, because that's what I did at the parties. And so, someone could do door hangers, like the round door hangers, like you were saying, and someone else could do plank signs and be completely different, but yet have the same kind of business model. There's just so cool. Many options.
All right.
You go.
Yeah, I got a question. I do have a question. Like, when we say, like you said, sign parties, right? It's very narrow. People are thinking narrowly. To that effect, when people think sign parties too, they think, I don't want people at my home, or I don't know where to have a party. Where are some of the most unique places that you've hosted parties, or have you seen others host parties at?
Yeah. So I was 100% mobile. So nobody ever came to me. I always went to them. So that's a great misconception too. People have, are like, I don't have my own studio. I don't want people in my house. Like, you don't have to. So one of the most unique places that I guess that people don't think of is, in my town, there was and I say was because this is when I was in Minnesota, car dealership that had a community room that anybody could use. And it was like in the middle of their dealership, like right in the middle, and glass all the way around it, which was great because then everybody could see what you were doing, and it caught people's attention. But it was free because they wanted the community to come in there. And so we held parties at the car dealership. There's parties from, libraries sometimes have like a free space. You could do, churches or restaurants, breweries and wineries. We hear all the time people do parties there. But really just thinking outside the box. I also had a real estate agent who had a location that they were willing to let me use whenever. And so I had parties at the real estate agent's office. And we did it in businesses all the time. So hair salons, really, like you name it, coffee shops, all of that. We were in people's barns, we were in people's attics, all everywhere.
That's great. Will, grab that one just a second. I'm going to ask a question and let you grab that one that I saw in the chat there. Yep. I know that it can be a variety, but how long is the average party on the average?
So I would say allow for 3 hours. It's going to, again, vary depending on the project. If you're doing like a kids party or something with children, I would keep the project way more simple. And so that I like to go not over an hour, but a general party, I would say 3 hours with setup and tear down and things like that. I did them about 2. That was just kind of my thing, but I got better as I went. But I say 3 hours is like a good window, a decent time frame. Yep.
All right. So we have a question here from Victor.
Yes.
Do you factor in the time it takes to handhold those that are having issues with the project when you are setting up the event?
I don't necessarily factor in the time. There's going to be the classes that, you're going to have somebody that's a little more like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? But as the instructor, I really like to encourage them. It's a DIY party. This is a do-it-yourself. I am here to help and here to guide you, but I'm not afraid to tell somebody, hey, I want you to try it first. And then if you're really struggling, I'll come help you. But I think you can do it. So many of the people that are hesitant or that need that hand-holding are just intimidated because they haven't done that before. They haven't, held the nail gun with the plank signs. I had nail guns that everybody used, and they've never used one before or whatever. And so they're a little bit hesitant. But when I say, encourage them, hey, I'll be right here, but I want you to try it, then they get their confidence boosted. And all of a sudden, this ray of light shines down on them and they're like, oh my gosh, I did it. I'm so proud of myself. And that like, that just adds to the mix of like the joy of these parties. And I have found the bigger the class, the less hand-holding that you do, because they know that you're busy. They know that, you know, you can't help every single person. So I would rather do a party of 25 than a party of 7. Just for that, they are very much more self-sufficient in a bigger party, which is kind of different. You know, you would think that a smaller party would go faster, and it's usually the opposite.
That's great. Shirley's got a good question here. How many people are controllable? And let me rephrase it. Maybe how many is too many?
Yeah. So I feel like a party of 15 is like perfect for me. Once I get to about that 25 people mark, you want to make sure you have somebody there that's helping you, just with like the supplies and all that kind of stuff. My largest party was 69, but I didn't always love that type of party. So controllably, I would say up to 25 is very doable if it's just you. And then over that, you're going to want to make sure you have help and all that kind of stuff.
So here's probably something you might have heard, and this would be a question I would ask. Could I host a paint party, if I can't paint myself?
Yes. So great question. Yes, you can, because I always say make the project first yourself. Like, right, you can't teach anything if you don't know how to do it. But as far as painting or, I'm not very artistic, like you don't really have to be, because so many of our projects, right, whether you know, it's a project like your banks, or it's a door hanger or whatever, we either have these 3D cutouts that we paint on and, you know, place on, or, you know, if you were like me and it's pre-laser and you have your stencils and stuff, like you're not freehanding anything. So it really doesn't matter if you can paint or not. If you can dab a sponge, you know, this is what I like to paint with. If you can dab a sponge up and down, you can do these parties. So again, I tell everybody, and it's in all my trainings, to do a practice party first with you and like a friend or 2 friends. So then you know how to, because doing it yourself is different than teaching somebody else how to do it. But if you have a little practice party, teach them how to do it, and then, you know, figure out what went wrong, what worked really well, what you have to adjust, and then you can do it into, you know, a different class. But definitely, it doesn't matter. You can continue to have great parties and not be very creative yourself.
But all 3 of us are just entrepreneurs by nature, and my entrepreneur brain is just going crazy. Like, oh yeah, don't ask all those questions, Mark.
Yeah,
because I love this stuff. You know, I really love it. So I'll just ask a couple that came to my mind. Is in terms of supplies. Do you typically, I guess once you get into the rhythm of doing as many as you were doing, obviously you were keeping a bunch of supplies on hand because you were doing so often.
Yeah, we were at my busiest, we were doing about 9 a week. So
so that would change my question completely. Okay. Because if you're doing more than 1 a day, then obviously supplies have to be there all the time.
Right.
But do you typically, for someone who's starting, I guess maybe I'll answer my own question when I'm asking it. But do you book your class and then buy the materials as you know how many people as you're getting started, and then just build up your stuff that you keep on hand as your classes go on? Kind of what's the idea of inventory in this regard?
Right. So that's what I would do if you are just starting. So your supply list is going to depend on the project that you're making. So I always say when you're doing it yourself, right? When you're doing it for the first time, or when you're practicing by yourself, every single thing that your hand touches, that is going to be part of your supply list. So if you're doing, I don't know why I keep bringing up the banks, just because I love them. But if you're doing one of your banks versus a plank sign, you know, our supply lists are going to be totally different. So again, build the project, make the project, and everything your hand touches. If you use glue, if you use a tape measure, if you whatever, make that a list, part of your supply list. And then, if you're first starting and you don't have a lot of, funds to put into your supplies, or you don't want to overestimate or whatever, get your registration form as people sign up for your class and pay, use that to go purchase the supplies. And then, as you build up and as you change which project you're doing and so forth, like you can, build up your supplies at that time. I went from the little tiny bottles of paint, just like the 2-ounce acrylic craft paint. I just started bringing that to my parties because I didn't know like how busy I was going to get, whatever. And then eventually I went up to buying it by the gallon because, we just always had the paint. So again, it don't be afraid to start small. Like you don't have to have this, Pinterest worthy.
Right.
I've showed some of my stuff, you guys, and it's almost embarrassing, like looking back. But on the other hand, it's not, because I will continue to teach it. You don't have to have anything fancy. Like I had totes. I just had like regular totes that I brought to my part, like blue totes. I had aprons in a cardboard box. Like nothing was fancy. And nobody ever came to my parties and said, you know what, this was really great, but it would have been a lot better if your stuff that you carried your things in was prettier or whatever. Like nobody cares. You unload your stuff and, carry on with your day. So you don't have to have the best of everything when you first start. And that's another misconception a lot of people have, is like, oh, I don't have all this money to begin with, or I don't, it doesn't look very pretty or whatever. It's like, who cares what your totes look like? Just put your stuff in it and get going, So yeah, absolutely though. Just start out small.
I got a couple other questions too. A lot is, I know a lot of things are ranges, both the length of the class and all that kind of stuff. But what is the general range of what you could potentially charge for these? And I know it varies based on several things.
Right. So I like to see no less than $40 a person for these. Okay. And again, it's going to depend, right, on where you live and all that kind of jazz. I always charge $45 for mine. So everybody $45 across the board, unless it was something a lot bigger. So if I did a porch sign, those were $60. And my other signs were $45. And I kept it like that because it was simple for me. So whether they got a square or a rectangle or a round or whatever, it was just $45 a person. Now you could charge, probably a little bit more than that for the same kind of thing, because that was a few years ago. But yeah, it's really kind of going to depend. I would say 40 to 60 pretty much for every project is a pretty good price range, because you want to look at like, what are some other companies doing or other businesses, they have the canvas painting parties and, the different things like that. And generally people pay, between $40 and $60 for something like that. And you also have to remember, you're not just giving them a product. It's the experience of the class that they're there for, which is another thing I teach, is like how to make your customer experience great, how to get, returning business and things like that. But yeah, so really in that $40 to $60 range, a lot of people, will not bat an eye, but they'll sign up because, they feel like there's value there.
Well, in fact, what I was thinking is, if like me and my wife attended one, if we attended one, there's two things I'm thinking is, one, if it's say $80 or $90 and it's 3 hours, I'm thinking, yeah, that's 3 hours. That's a long time, that of an experience. Right. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't know if I'm normal on this or not, but I'm taking it as an experience. I'm not just going, when I get done, was this sign worth $45? Like, that's not what I'm thinking. The experience is what I want.
So, and you're learning a painting technique, or you're learning how to build your own sign, or you're learning how to use that tool, or so yes, it's learning, it's education, it's experience, and it's the product. And I always tell people too, if you're just start and you have no clue like where to price things or whatever, I always say, start it with whatever you feel. So let's say 45, and you call it your introductory price. And then if you feel like that went great, then, keep it at that. But if you're like, oh, wow, I got so many more people, or you feel like with your cost of supplies, you could probably raise it a little bit or whatever, and then you can adjust. But that's a big thing too, is like knowing, just because you started at one point doesn't mean that you can't change your mind later. So feel
Absolutely.
free to like adjust it as you go or change it per project. Maybe you're doing Will's favorite tiered tray sets, and and then I know you love them so much.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. So like that versus, something else, and, you can adjust your prices based on the project and, all that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff. But yeah, you are giving them that experience, which is important to remember when you're pricing.
I'll grab Wendy's question, and Will, you grab Shirley's and Kathy's both. Wendy just asked, I got here late. Can I watch this later? Absolutely. All of our lives that we do can be watched on demand anytime afterwards. So never worry about that. We all know that everybody's got stuff to do. Totally great. Catch it anytime you can. And you're welcome to comment on this even later. We will all do our best to keep up with it if we can, even after the fact. So no worries.
Perfect. Got a question here from Shirley. If you're doing it for the first time, would you suggest having a trial run, inviting friends, and not charging?
Okay, so yes, have a trial run. That's why I always say do a practice party. I say 2 to 3 people. So if that's friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, your kids, like if they're a little bit older, anybody that you can, yes, do a practice run, and it's totally up to you if you want to charge them or not. I would say no, you don't have to charge them. Maybe you just say, hey, would you be willing to pay $10 to cover my expenses, but I'm not going to charge you for the experience, like however you want to do it, that's totally up to you. But yeah, just grab 2 or 3 people and say, hey, can I practice on you? I really want to do this, and, have at it. But yeah, I always do a practice party, because you just don't want to be surprised with how something's going to go. Or especially if you're mobile like me and you don't have your own studio, you don't want to get there and realize you totally forgot some of the supplies that you needed or whatever. So you always do a practice run.
All right. Yep. Quick follow-up question for that. What is your material of choice for most of your parties?
Ooh. Okay, so that's going to be different based on what you're going to do. For me, again, I was plank sign, so my material of choice was pine 1x4s. That like built my business was 1x4s. If I was doing like door hangers and things like that, again, I did more like wall hanging signs. So I liked the thicker. I liked like the 1/2-inch birch. If I'm strictly using my laser, then like a 1/4-inch birch or 1/4-inch maple for the base, 1/8-inch MDF for the top, and you paint it and everything looks great. So it really varies, but between the pine, like 1x4s, 1x8s, 1x10s for the porch signs, all the way to the lasered maple, birch, and MDF. So kind of just varies.
Perfect. Got a question here from Kathy. Why do it at a place versus having your own space where everything is there and set up? I'm thinking, why do it? Maybe why would you choose one space over another?
Why do it at a place versus having your own space? So basically, why be mobile versus having your own studio or having people come to your house? You can do it totally whichever way that you want. I don't teach go out and get a space first, for the simple fact of there is so much overhead. When you have a space, you have the space, right? If you're renting a building or you own a building or something, you have all of that cost with the building. You have utilities, you have everything. And I did have a space. For those of you that are like, oh, well, maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about because she never had a space. I did. When I moved here to Idaho, I saw a space that was near my house, and I was like, you know what, let's just do it. And I'm going to show people how to open up a studio, even if they don't know anybody, because I moved 1,400 miles from where I lived and didn't know anybody when I came here. And I did open up a studio, and I got it going where it was profitable. And then I closed it because I can't do both at the same time. So I wanted to focus on my teaching. But there were so much costs involved with that space that I had to have, like, I forget the number, but I had to have, 6 parties just to pay the rent and break even and then profit. Whereas if you don't have your own space, for me, it's so much easier because you don't have the stress. If I wasn't doing a party, it wasn't costing me money. So now some people might say, well, why not just do it at your home? Because then you're already paying for the space and whatever, and you can totally do that. But I would say, check with your insurance. There's a lot of like insurance stipulations depending on where you live. If you can have an in-home business, if you can't, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if that's your jam, if you'd rather have, a little shop maybe you have a shed in your backyard that you want to turn into your studio, then yeah, definitely look into that. I just don't like people going out and feeling like they have to lease a space or have their own setup before they have a good customer base.
Right. And I have two thoughts on that personally. Is one, when you commit to renting a space somewhere, the downside of that is if you need to take a break or go on vacation, you're still paying for it, whether you're using it or not. Right. So that's the downside of that part. But then there's another part that you will probably never hear a customer say, but it's true, is I'm one of those people. Now, if you're my friend, this would change, but I don't want to go to your house.
Yeah.
Not just the fact that you may not want me there, but I don't actually want to go to somebody's house. I'm way more comfortable at a third-party place, whether it be a community center or a library or a place of business. And there are lots of people just like me who would really not prefer to go to your house. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, maybe that's not your audience and that doesn't matter. That's fine. But it is a thing that you have to consider as well. So both of those ditches, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's just, there's a lot that goes into having your own space, like I said. And yeah, it's definitely something to consider.
That's great. What else? Will, you got any other questions for Dawn? I mean, I could just dig on the entrepreneur side for forever.
No, yeah, I think you covered a lot. I think a lot of people see people in their neighborhoods doing parties, or they see it in the groups, and they're afraid to take that leap, thinking that it's too much work, or like you said, I need to know so many people. And if you just put yourself out there, I think you've done a great job at coaching and mentoring people and letting them know that where you started, right, and where they can go with it, and all the excuses that we tend to come up with. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough friends. You break a lot of those myths, right? Like, well, I'm trying to raise my one child. I can't do this. This is too much work. And you're over there 7 times that and still building a profitable business while being able to still be present for your family is an inspiration to people. And I think that's why people gravitate towards seeing your story. And that's why we're very excited to have you at the conference, because it shows people that if there's obstacles in front of them, if you put your mind to putting yourself past those, it can happen. Right. And it's just getting over ourselves.
She comes off as pretty sane for the most part.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right. But she fakes it for short periods of time, which is great. So, the one thing we didn't do that we need to do now is we didn't talk about, we told everybody your website, but let's talk about the resources that you have, that you provide, because we didn't really talk about that at all to speak of, because you've been talking this whole time about how to do parties, but how can Dawn help us to do that? You've got several resources. So tell us about some of those.
Yeah. So, well, first there's my free Facebook group, and that is where, I do posts and I do trainings and stuff like that to get a grasp of, what is a sign party and so forth. If you're ready to kind of take the plunge, like, okay, what's the first step? A couple different things. And I have this too on my website. It says step 1, step 2, step 3. But step 1, I have a playbook, which is just a 21-day guide to your first party in 3 weeks. So you don't have to do it in 3 weeks if you don't want to, but it's just a little daily video of action steps that you can take every single day. Like, okay, order your supplies. Now do this. Now post this. Now, do that. So it literally just walks you through step by step how to have that first party. Then the second step is I have my paid mentorship, which is called The Collective. And that's where you get a whole bunch of things. It will teach you on how to get parties off the ground. And then every month there's files, there's single layer files, which are great for like stencils. A lot of my people don't have a laser yet, so they're doing stencils. And then there's the multiple layer files for those wanting to do just 3D projects. We do trainings, there's tutorials, there's projects, there's all sorts of stuff in there. Then step 3 is like the kind of the next level where you can get my full course. Then that's my big course, A to Z, everything sign parties. And you get 6 months of coaching with me. And then the last step is something I just launched actually last week. It's called Create Academy. And that is where it's like high level, high direction. It's one-on-one with me. So I keep it very small, like only like 3 people. And that's 9 sessions where we just knock out something every session. It's very structured, but to give you like, make sure you have basically a good foundation, you know, your business basics, your budgeting, your supplies, all that kind of stuff, networking, how you're going to market. And then we get you to launch after those 9 sessions. So it's kind of, I wanted to meet people where they're at. In whatever kind of stage, like, oh, I'm just dabbling, or hey, I'm ready to rock and roll with this thing. So like, tell me what I need to do. And so I kind of have something for everybody in there. But yeah, so that's basically it.
That's fantastic. We got to share this one with you because I want you to see it because it's fantastic. Dawn is one of the 5 people on my dream team list. I just love what she offers, what she does, and her teaching. I most definitely want to be like Dawn.
Oh, that's so sweet. Whoever you are, I don't know. It just says Facebook user, but we'll go figure.
I paid somebody to say that, but who cares?
Figure it out. But I love that. Thank you so much. You're gonna make me blush.
Who's the other 4? That's what we need to know too.
Well, I'm assuming that 3 of her list is right here. I'm guessing. And I know the answer to this, but Shirley's asking this question. I think it's great. She says, at the conference, would you please provide a list of things that are needed at or for a party that are usually forgotten? I'll let you answer, but whether you have it at the conference or whether you have it on your website, I'm certain that that's something you can provide for sure.
Yes, I can. And again, if I give supply lists, it's going to be, I always say like, it's not exhaustive nor conclusive, meaning like depending on your project and that sort of thing. But yeah, things that people forget are like garbage bags and things like that. Like you just don't think of. But yeah, absolutely. I can have that available for you. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, Will, why don't you kind of wrap us up here by just reminding people about our event, and we'll take any last questions that come up and we'll let you guys get back to your day.
Yes, there you go. Mark just posted it there. The nextlevellaserconference.com. It is our third conference coming up June 28th through June 30th in Tulsa, where he's at.
Right here. Well, not right here. My office is way too small. But yes.
Yeah, so we would love to have everyone there. We have Dawn's going to be there speaking. You're going to get an opportunity to learn from her. You're going to get advice from her. You're going to get to interact with hundreds of other makers with the same mindset, all traveling this laser journey, trying to get to where all of us are hoping to go. You're going to have amazing speakers. We have some of the best vendors in our community coming out there. So you're going to see the latest and greatest of all the machines and materials to help grow your business. You're going to learn more about design programs, mindset, all of the things that we need to grow our business. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We've had the first 2 were great. This one's going to be even better. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, the nextlevellaserconference.com, come join us in Tulsa. You'll have a blast. You'll learn a ton. I promise you'll walk out of there with so much more knowledge, but you're also going to walk out with more connections, and the experience of meeting like-minded individuals is still the best part of any of these events.
You know, there's several words that Will and I have been using over and over these last few months as we've been planning this. And a couple of the ones that I'm thinking about all the time as we're planning, we plan every day. I'm sure that Will is completely sick of talking to me because it's like every day. But we're thinking of just always thinking, how can we make this event meaningful and memorable? We've got lots of words that we're using behind the scenes, but we want everything that you guys experience there to mean something to you and it'd be a reason to remember it, whether it makes you laugh, whether it's like, oh my gosh, that tip really made a difference for me. Hey, I met some people. We provided a chance for you to meet people. And I think we can all agree the last 2 events, more than anything, we took away relationships that we didn't have before, people that we could lean on and talk to. Heck, me and Will met each other for the first time in person at an event. So, and he had no idea I was this tall in person. So
2 years ago. It's only been 2 years. It seems like we've known each other for a lot longer, but we've met in person only 2 years ago.
That's right. That's right. And I met Dawn in person was it a year ago, January? Is that right?
A year and like a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. So it's just going to be fantastic. And it's just going to be a time to grow in all kinds of ways. And we feel like the most important thing to grow is you. More than, you'll get a chance to see a lot of lasers and a lot of materials and a lot of tools. And those are all great. And a lot of you are going to get new ones. And that's fantastic. But we really believe strongly that you are the most important part of your business, and growing you will make everything else grow. And so that's what we're going to spend a lot of time on, is you and your thinking and your knowledge. So that's going to be exciting. And Dawn's going to be a big part of that. So you'll get to come and get her autograph, because it's going to be worth a ton of money in the future. It's going to be great. So no pressure whatsoever. So it's going to be great. Well, if I don't see any other new questions, so we'll just let everybody get back to their day. Dawn, what a pleasure. It's always great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. And we'll probably do this again before the conference, because we just want everybody to get a chance to meet Dawn if they haven't already. And then you'll get a chance to meet her in person there. So definitely we'll see each other before June. But until then, guys, have a great day. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let us know if you have any questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to keep up with you. But until then, we'll see you in all the groups.
Yeah, and stay tuned. We have a lot of lives planned next week.
Gosh.
For the coming weeks, you're going to meet all the speakers. You're going to meet the vendors. You're going to meet all the people who are going to be involved in this conference. So you're going to get to learn a little bit about them. So stay tuned. You're going to hopefully you don't get sick of seeing Mark and I live 3 days a week.
Well, we may have to do some kind of different, I don't know which way this is going to go. Nope, definitely not that. We're not.
There you go. That works.
Nope.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
No, I don't even know how to put it back. Okay, they're great. Yeah. More of Dawn's face and less of mine. That's for sure. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in all the groups. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.